Good morning, Sense of Things. It's Jeff and Ron here for another weekly update on what's going on in the world. Ron, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Good morning. You can't say there's a dull moment in the world or in the market, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. It just keeps going and going and going at this point. And it's supposed to be the slow time of the year, but there's a lot of information coming out.
Well, as long as we're not dealing with some kind of crazy geopolitical event, everything else we could take in stride.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. And I think it's there. The news cycle, I think, has been a little bit busier for an August than I've seen in a long time. The markets have been a little all over the fence this last couple of weeks. Very reactive to news is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think we've seen the highs for the year, though. Technically, without getting too wonky, we'll show some charts in a little bit. I think we've hit the high for the year. We'll have to see how things pan out. Obviously, today was a good day with the CPI data, but look, we're getting into the tough part of the year. August and September and October are usually slower, tougher months, but we'll see what happens here. One day does not a trend make. We'll see. I think tomorrow's the PCE data, and we'll see how things progress into September.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to kick off today. Usually we do some kind of fun fact, but having grown up my early years in Hawaii, I want to put my heart out to the people of Maui, specifically the people of Lahaina, because they've just been devastated. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that. And of course, right now, then all the people are jumping out there that, oh, this is climate change. And I'm not a climate denier, but what I'm saying is it's the perfect storm in this world. And you need to understand that a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about the microclimates in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because Maui's a very unique place. Let me share my screen here a little bit because I want to just share what the devastation is. It's insane right now. So this is Lahaina. So if you want to know where that is, can you see my screen, by the way?
Yep.
Okay. If you want to know where that is, let me show you. So this is the island of Maui. If you see the chain of Maui, this is Oahu here. This is Kauai, the farthest out island, and then the big island of Hawaii. So Maui's in the middle of the chain. It's dominated by two dormant volcanoes, one on this end, one on this end. So it's like a little wasp shape. And where these fires are is right in this area. It's on the west coast of Maui. It's the really dry temperate zone. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But I wanted to share this is what downtown Lahaina looked like. It's an old whaling village. So on this part of the town, this is where the harbor is. And this part of the town is the oldest part of town. In fact, this building right here is the oldest building in Hawaii. It was basically their customs office. And this is where, when the whaling ships would come in, this is where they would go. And this big, ginormous tree is a 150-year-old banyan tree that's been there. It's the largest tree in the state of Hawaii anywhere. And it's massive. I mean, it takes up a whole square block. All of these buildings, this whole area along here, most of those buildings were built in the probably late 1800s, early 1900s era. They've been updated and all that, but it's all pretty much old wooden structures and things like that. If you look at it today, this is what it looks like. It's just insane. It has just been completely decimated. Every single structure is flattened. The banyan tree was burned. Where it was green, it's been burned, and they don't even know if that'll survive. So it's just absolutely horrible for the people there. I wanted to show if you look at that area, and this, I'm trying to find the screen where I had this. Okay, so the interesting thing, though, is everybody's, oh, it's climate and climate and climate. What you need to realize is in Maui, there are 17 different microclimates in Maui. There's everything from literally desert, which is on that west coast, to tropical rainforest, which is on the east coast. And this whole island is less than 35 miles across. Within that, you can drive 10 miles. And there's a coast road that runs from the airport in Kahului all the way along the coast here. And driving that, you drive through, I think, 9 different microclimates driving along that coast. And you go from basically 10 to 20 inches of rain per year up to almost 200 inches of rain per year in less than a 20-mile piece. So it's crazy when you're doing that, when you're making that drive, it is just absolutely insane how it just massively changes as you go. Well, Lahaina is in the absolute driest part of the state. They get 0 to 10 inches of rain per year, which I think is even less than what Phoenix gets.
I think so too. Yeah.
This whole part of the island, because of the mountains, they block a lot of the weather that comes through, and it sticks in the middle. This is like an arid desert. You think it's a tropical island, and it's an arid desert basically on that side of the island. So it was primed for if there was a fire and a big ginormous hurricane came across, it was exactly the worst possible thing that could happen, because the hurricane came from this direction and the winds whipped up, but it didn't bring any rain. It was too far out to bring any rain. And so it was just literally all wind in a very dry, arid area, and that caused the devastation. So I just feel for all the people. I think there's been 36 people that have died in this, and basically everybody lost their homes in that part of the world. So I just want to say hearts out to you guys, praying for you.
Terrible.
All right. So that said, now the horribles out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the markets and what's going on there. What do you have for us today, Ron?
Got some news and some charts, and always some good conversation fodder. Let me bring this up here. So I thought this was interesting about China and deflation. Now, people have known for decades, can you really trust any of the economic numbers that are coming out of China? Who would really invest in China? And really, I think it's more traders than investors would be investing, or that would be putting money into China stocks or the China economy, whatever it may be. And the interesting thing is this: they have tried to control their people, the population, their culture. That's what they're trying to do. And their economy is suffering. And if it wasn't for Europe and the United States, they'd still be in the dark ages economically. So the problem is, what does deflation in China mean to our economy? And I think some of that will start to pan out here over the next 3 to 6 months, because that would affect us as far as manufacturing. It would affect us as far as, remember, a lot of the US companies are multinationals, and they rely on China not for getting goods to sell them goods. So if deflation is happening and they're trying to sell them goods and or services, that's not good for the US multinationals. So I don't know how many people are really aware of this, how many people, the average investor, really follows what's going on in China, but there definitely is a ripple and a trickle down effect as far as what happens. The infamous expression was, when the US sneezes, everybody else gets a cold. China's economy is pretty darn important to the rest of the world. Maybe not as important as the US economy, but certainly either for supply chain or for Walmart, many luxury brands, so on and so forth, have a pretty significant stake in that country. So we'll have to see how it pans out here, but I don't know if this is the canary in the coal mine for anything, but certainly I wanted to pique some interest.
I think the other interesting thing too, and along the lines of China, I don't know if you saw the stories this week about Italy. Italy had signed on, against our will, signed on with China with the Belt and Road Initiative. And so for people that don't know what that is, China has been doing this for about the last 10 years. It's under Xi Jinping. They wanted to effectively recreate the Silk Road around the world. And the Silk Road was a trade route that went from China to Europe through all the countries back 200, 300, 400 years ago. And what Xi Jinping has been wanting to do is basically rebuild that Silk Road by improving transportation and all this. So China's been investing in all these countries in Africa. It's been trying to get some inroads into Europe, and Italy kind of a few years ago signed on with Belt and Road to say, hey, we'll come in, do some infrastructure projects in our country and all this, and then we'll develop trade and all that. And they got snookered by the Chinese, because as the prime minister put it, we sent them $1 million worth of oranges from Italy, and then we ended up I think we sent them $1 billion of produce, and they got $30 million of trade back their direction. Chinese products into our country. That's not fair. And so they're actually pivoting away from Belt and Road at this point. So
How about
there's some
that?
cracks in that Belt and Road initiative where it's, hey, if you're a poor African country, hey, if anybody's going to invest in your country with infrastructure and you need to bring goods in, okay, we'll just do whatever we have to do. But when you've got an economy like Italy that's, hey, we're a manufacturing economy, there's got to be some quid pro quo.
Yeah. Listen, China's an important country out there regarding the global economy. So we'll have to see what happens. But let me go on here. So I got two charts here. It's this chart, and I add one more thing. And so what I wanted to show people here is this is going back almost 10 years, 9 years. So I just want to explain what this is. So basically what you have is the main blue line here is the SPY. That's the S&P 500.
Yep.
The FXI is the China stock market. Okay. The purple is IEV, which is more as the European market. And RSP, and the reason why I like RSP, SPY was very heavily weighted to the top 8 stocks. RSP is an equal weighted index. So what I wanted to show people here is, look where China is, right? China, they've been saying they've been in and out of recession for many years. You can see where they were here back in 2020, and they peaked with everybody else coming out of the COVID, but they've been in a straight line down. The European countries overall, their markets really haven't recovered all that much, even if you look from prior to COVID. They're up a little bit, but certainly not growing. And then you take a look at the two U.S. main indexes, right? The SPY and the equal weighted S&P. And how much of that, number one, is inflation? How much of that is AI? How much of that? It's tough to say, why are we expanding and excelling more so than other countries, especially since many of these other countries were not, I would say they were more aggressive with their lockdowns and things like that. And it looks they had a bump of recovery, but they're all suffering. Europe, Germany is in a recession, and some other countries are teetering on a recession in Europe. So where's that going to go? But the reason why I wanted to bring this up as an indicator is I do not recommend oil as an investment to clients. I think if you could tell me everything is supposed to be based on supply and demand, can you tell me how much oil supply there is in the world? Nobody can.
No.
The same thing with gold. People love gold. It looks pretty, but can you tell me how much supply there is in the world? No. So where I'm going with this is that if I can't truly measure supply, how am I going to have fundamentals on what to invest in? The reason why I bring this up is that if you take a look at oil, typically oil rises in a better economy. Well, look where oil has gone. It's been completely divergent, and oil is this mauve or purple line, or the dark purple line, compared to our economy. Now, oil has ticked up, and many of the energy stocks have ticked up over the last couple of weeks, but just look at the divergence here, and you can see that oil has not been truly increasing with better economies. And I think one of the reasons why oil is not over $100 a barrel is because of China and because of Europe. And because of their depressed economies, they can't handle higher prices. I know we joked about in a podcast several months ago, we were all like yelling, bitching, and complaining about the average price of gasoline is like over $4.50 to $5 a gallon. I know it's cheap in Texas. Arizona and California and Washington are the 3 highest states with gasoline. And we were laughing because in Europe, it's $8-9 a gallon. So
no, it's $8 or $9 a liter.
A liter. Okay. All right. My bad. Sorry. The metric system always
it's even worse than that. Yeah. It's $16 a gallon.
So I think truly that's one of the reasons why oil is not over $100 is because the OPEC countries and Russia and whatever, they realize that maybe the US can afford it, but Europe can't and China can't. And those are two obviously major drivers in the global economy.
Sure.
So I think this is something to look out for. If oil does turn up, is that a good sign or a bad sign? It could be a good sign if Europe and China pop back up again, but it could be an ominous sign if they're trying to squeeze more juice out of the orange as far as pricing, because if oil ticks up while the economies are going down, that will drastically affect the buying power of an average citizen in any country.
Mhm.
What are
Well,
your
and I
thoughts
think,
on that before I go to earnings?
yeah, and I think the US dollar's been weakening and everything else, which has an effect on that. There's a pressure on it as well. Yeah, I just think they just announced a cut, what, last week, another cut in production. I think they're just trying to keep this stabilized up in the 80s at this point. They know if it goes up into the hundreds, then demand is going to go down, drastically. So they're trying to manage that demand a little bit and keep the prices elevated, because it's actually more expensive now to get it out of the desert than it used to be at this point, because their reserves
Yeah.
in Saudi Arabia especially have gone down drastically. And it's they've got a lot of reserves, but it's harder and harder to get, and it's not as high a quality as West Texas Intermediate or even Brent sea crude.
I saw a stat a few years ago. They were going through what the cost is to pull out a gallon of oil out of the ground.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia and many of those Middle Eastern countries, the average cost is like 20 to 30 bucks a barrel.
Mm.
In the United States, because of a lot of the rigs that came online in the last 20 to 30 years, the average cost is over 50 bucks a barrel.
Yeah. But the
That's
difference
telling you
is,
right there, they're trying to measure what not just what the demand could be, but what the right price is.
yeah, the difference is, though, you're talking light sweet crude versus some of the garbage that comes out of the desert. And it's the refining side of it that's more costly when you've got that kind of junk oil, especially like Russia. They've got just junk oil that they're coming out. It's dirtier. It requires more refining. Ours, if we would just drill it, God forbid, ours is, it's easier to refine. It's light sweet crude, so it's actually very clean, as much as you can make it clean to refine. And the overall scheme of things, it ends up being, I think, a little bit more profitable. And I think it protects us from these massive price swings constantly if we, God forbid, drilled here in the United States.
Yeah. So I think oil prices is definitely something to look at, and seeing where the European nations and China correlates to the oil.
Yeah.
But I thought this
diesel, diesel's been on a massive rise again. It's going up at a higher clip. It's way more expensive than regular gas, and that affects the entire economy across the board.
Yeah. And this comes from FactSet, which is always chock full of good data.
Mhm.
And if you take a look at this with EPS, which is the mother's milk of driving stock prices up and company forecast and where things are going to be, this is fairly ominous. We could see an earnings pullback here over the last couple of quarters, and now we're looking at Q3 as a negative print. And the last time we had a negative print was when the market just flew following COVID back in Q1 2022. Look, I know we both feel we know where the market's going here over the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And I just can't see how somebody says there's no landing for a potential recession. Too many smart people, smarter than both of you and I combined, are looking at the numbers like, can't ignore facts, people.
No.
But earnings is a tremendous driver into upward momentum of the markets, even if there's a lot of froth in PE ratios and things like that. Earnings is earnings. Earnings goes to the bottom line. It expands, things like that. We can have a whole nother conversation about what UPS had to give up in their union contract. And then now you take a look at some of the demands from the United Auto Workers and what they want.
Yeah.
They want a 50% increase and a reduction in hours.
Yeah. I want to make 50% more, and I want to work 32 hours a week. Okay.
New cars are already so expensive.
Yep.
If they're going to get close to those demands, price is going to go through the roof and quality is going to continue to go down.
Yeah.
There's no other way to look at that.
It was interesting. Somebody put it, I was listening to the financial news on my way home the other day, and somebody put it just bluntly. They're like, do you think UPS is really going to be hiring a lot of new people now with this new contract? Do you think they're going to be hiring a lot of new people at $32 an hour or whatever they're
paying the drivers over $150,000 a year?
Yeah. And
you and I are in the wrong business.
Yeah. Do you think they're really going to hire a lot more new people, or are they just going to make the ones that are there work a hell of a lot harder for that money at this point? So did you really get that much out of it. And it's going to raise the cost of packaging and sending and everything else. And unfortunately, they had to cave because they couldn't shut down UPS on a strike with the amount of what's going on out in the world out here. But yeah, United Auto Workers, same thing. You've got this point now where a lot of the unions are trying to push hard for higher wages and more benefits and everything else. And it's just going to affect the things that they need to sell drastically. And like you said, cars are massively expensive. Even for a crappy car, you're going to spend 25 or 30 grand right now.
What it really comes down to is the following. Everybody should be paid a fair wage, and certainly a large company should offer good benefits. I don't think you and I are denying that.
Absolutely not.
But at the end of the day, the unions could say, and I hear what they're saying, hey, these companies made billions of dollars, but they reinvested a lot of money too into operations, improvements, things like that. But what happens in a recession? These companies, even the United Auto Workers, these companies build cars that they ship overseas. UPS is obviously a global company. What happens in a recession when their revenue goes down 30 to 40% and their profits go down 30 to 40%? Labor costs aren't going to go down.
You guys aren't sharing in the downside risk.
There's no risk for the employees other than they could go somewhere else and get another job. Right? That's their thing. I hear you. It's just like with the fast food. Eventually we're going to pay $10 for a Big Mac. It's just what's going to happen.
Or I think what's happening. I saw this probably 4 to 5 years ago when I went into a Panera Bread, and they had the little kiosk. And even to this point, even to this day, I don't care if there's nobody in line, I'll still walk in there and use the kiosk, because all I have to do is just put in my number. It's got all my information. It's got my credit card in there. I don't have to interact with humans. So life is good for me doing that. Even if there's somebody standing at the counter that could help me right away there, I'm just like, I'm good with that.
Jeff, I'm old school, bud.
I know you are.
I like going up because if I have a very specific to the order, they could put it in for me. And it's not that I'm a technophobe. I'm far from it. But you know what? I'm a people person.
I'm an off the rack guy, dude. I don't get like dress shirts tailored to me and stuff like that. I'm off the rack, man. So
I hear you. So we'll see what happens next week. We'll see where the digestion of the CPI and the PCE data tomorrow. So by the time we get together next week, it should be interesting to see how some of the dust settles with this. And maybe we'll go over some technical levels in the market that we'll look at, even though I know people might be more focused on the fundamentals, which is fine. They're important too. But this time of the year, during August and September, the computers take over. It's Skynet all over with Terminator.
It is.
And the markets will get pushed around.
Yeah, I figure we've probably got about another 2 weeks, at least up in the major financial centers. They probably got another 2 weeks before their kids get ready to go back to school. So
actually, kids are already back to school here. They started last week and many of them this week. They ended May because they like to turn the air conditioning units off here in June.
Yeah. And don't turn them on until late August or mid-August. Yeah, we're
probably late July, early August to prep for the kids coming in.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. All of our kids start going back this week. Upcoming.
Back in the day when I was growing up in the Northeast, it was standard. The Wednesday after Labor Day was the first day of school.
It used to be that way in Texas too, and then all of a sudden, somewhere it changed where they made the summer shorter and the school year longer. But we've got a bunch of school districts down here that want to go to a 4-day week, so it's like, okay, you're learning less. Yeah.
So just longer days,
like an extra hour per day. So it's not like it's a drastic amount. It's not filling that Friday, and most of it's a Friday. And I thought the funniest excuse for this was like, gives the kids more time on Friday to get their homework done. Oh, I'm sure they're going to be doing their homework on Friday on the long weekend. And then what do the parents do? Because, all right, I've got to go to work and my kid's off, and do I have to get a babysitter and all that? But yeah, it's goofy, and it's be interesting to see.
I don't know if that's truly for cost savings or it's part of the union contract, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen 5-10 years from now? Hey, let's go to a 3-day week.
That's exactly right. And The problem is the rest of the world is going, hey, we need to stay in school all year long so that we can learn and we can do that. And we're going the opposite direction of our kids are so stressed. They have to go to school 4 whole days.
Yeah, I hear you. We'll see what happens.
I agree. We'll cover what I was going to cover next week about the 401k hardships, because I think that
that'll be a good topic.
It'll be a good topic to have a discussion about, because that is a crack that I see coming, and this is cracks behind the scenes. And as a real estate investor, I look at it as this is a big crack that we need to be cognizant of at this point.
Yeah, you know what? And we'll talk about it next week, but I think it'd be interesting to correlate the rise in hardship loans to the spike in bankruptcies too.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Ron, thank you for being on, my friend, as always. And folks, we do these once a week on Thursdays. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and please give us an upvote on YouTube to just say, hey, we're out there, and let us know that you're out there. And if you're willing, certainly give us a comment if you like what we're talking about, or if you want to learn some other things. So thanks a lot, and we will see you guys back here next week.